Welcome to the Strength for the Day podcast, which is a daily Bible study with Dennis Fountain. We hope this time together will be challenging, sharpening, uplifting, encouraging, and strengthening to your Christian walk. Thank you for joining us, and we pray you are helped through today's study.
Hey, good morning, and welcome back to another episode of Strength for the Day. And we are coming down to the last two episodes in the book of Acts. What a great study it's been. Of course, the series has been entitled The Church Unleashed, and we've been looking at the actions of the early believers. And of course, over the course of the last number of episodes, I don't know how many, we have followed the life of Paul, and he has been arrested. He is being transported to Rome to stand trial before Nero. I tried to put Caesar and Nero together, and I got Nezer. But he is being called before Caesar, before Nero, and he's going to give an account. But there's some great things that we're going to see take place, and I'm not going to get ahead of myself. Tomorrow, I want to encourage you to be at tomorrow's episode as we wrap up Acts 28 and the book of Acts. But today we pick up in Acts chapter number 28 and verse number 11. And I want you to remember that Paul is shipwrecked on the island of Malta, and there they stay 3 months. And the Word of God says, Acts 28 verse 11, after 3 months we sailed in an Alexandrian ship whose twin figurehead was the twin brothers, which had wintered on the island. The twin brothers were, it's a ship that was Castor and Pollux. They were believed in Greek mythology to be Zeus's sons. And so this, of course, was something that the Romans would worship and would look to, and the Alexandrians, an Alexandrian ship, so they would worship this. It's a Greek god ship. And so they get on this boat and they set sail. And I want you to notice what takes place. They set sail, and landing at Syracuse, we stayed 3 days. From there, Luke writes, we circled round and reached Rhegium, and after 1 day, the south wind blew, and the next day we came to Puteoli. And you can go and figure out all of these pronunciations for yourself. Where we found, verse 14, Luke writes this, where we found brethren, and we were invited to stay with them for 7 days. So we went toward Rome. So they're on this island, and they're allowed to stay at some believers' homes, and then they make their way toward Rome. So I want you to remember verse 14. We'll come back to it. And from there, when the brethren heard about us, they came to meet us as far as the Appii Forum and 3 inns. And when Paul saw them, he thanked God and took courage. And when we came to Rome, the centurion delivered the prisoners to the captain of the guard, but Paul was permitted to dwell by himself with the soldier who guarded him. And it came to pass after 3 days that Paul called the leaders of the Jews together. So when they had come together, he said to them, men and brethren, though I have done nothing against our people or the customs of our fathers, yet I was delivered as a prisoner from Jerusalem into the hands of the Romans, who, when they had examined me, wanted to let me go because there was no cause for putting me to death. But when the Jews spoke against it, I was compelled to appeal to Caesar. Not that I had anything of which to accuse my nation. For this reason, therefore, I have called for you to see you and speak with you, because for the hope of Israel I am bound with this chain. Okay, so let me just give us a quick summary, and I'm going to bring a couple applications here in just a minute. They set sail from Malta. They stop in this Puteoli, and they are greeted by believers. They're encouraged by believers. Then they set sail for Rome. They come to the Appii Forum and the 3 inns, and they're greeted by more believers. And then they get to Rome. When they get to Rome, Paul calls audience with the Jews, the Hebrews that were there, because he wanted to clarify who he was and why he was there. And so that's what we've just read in verse 17 down through verse number 20. But notice what they say to him. Then they said to him, we neither received letters from Judea concerning you, nor have any of the brethren who came reported or spoken any evil of you. But we desire to hear from you what you think. For concerning this sect or this section of belief, we know that it is spoken against everywhere. I'm going to stop right there just because for time's sake, and we'll pick up tomorrow in Paul's discussion with these Hebrews that are there. But what I want us to really focus in on is I want us to kind of read between the lines a little bit and understand kind of what Luke is writing when he writes about their traveling. Okay, so remember, Paul is arrested. Even though as we read this, I know for me, oftentimes I read this passage and I don't see Paul as being a prisoner. I see him still on a missionary journey, but he's not. Paul is a prisoner of Rome. The Lord has spared his life multiple times by these guards sparing his life. The Lord has allowed that to happen and brought that about. God has brought safety to them. And so I want us just for a moment, and for this episode and the next episode, I want us to really put ourselves in the place of Paul. So here he is about to go to Rome. He's arrested. He's been falsely accused, all of that. We don't need to rehash it. And he's a prisoner going to stand before Caesar. He does not know what's going to take place. He doesn't know what the outcome is going to be. Safe to say, and we saw this a few weeks ago in Acts 17, but safe to say Paul's been through some hardship and would be probably a little discouraged. They've been shipwrecked. And even though we've seen him step up and say, listen, God spoke to me. Why did God speak to him in Acts 27 or Acts 26 and say, you all are going to survive? No, it was Acts 27. Why did God do that? Because it says that the Lord told Paul, take heart, like be encouraged. So what I want us to see for today's episode is the need that Paul had to be encouraged, and the blessing that these believers in the API Forum and this other place of Patolia, I want to see how they encouraged him. Because after Paul met with both those groups, here's what Luke wrote. The end of verse number 15, when Paul saw them, he thanked God and took courage. It's the idea that Paul was encouraged because he knew God had allowed these believers to come his way and to encourage him. Now, here's why I want to focus on that today. And we'll dive into the last section tomorrow. It'll be fine. We'll get through everything. But, I think sometimes as a Christian, I know I do this. I think sometimes I feel as though I know I need encouragement, but sometimes I go through my life feeling like, well, I'm sent to encourage, not to be encouraged. And that's a wrong perspective. All right. Now, we can also have the pendulum swing and be the person that never encourages and always is just looking for people to pour into us. But what we need to see, and we had the episode a few episodes ago, Encouraged to Encourage. We saw that. But what I see in the life of Paul here in this passage is that God brought people along the way to encourage him at just the right time. And I want to challenge you and challenge me to open our eyes and recognize that every one of us need encouragement. So who is it that is encouraging you? You say, well, I can't make people encourage me. Right, but more often than not, there are people who do encourage us. We just don't lean into it as much. I'm thinking right now, I've been, of course, joking the last few episodes about dropping Lena, not joking, but talking about dropping Lena and Dennis off at college. And man, I'll be honest, when I left on Tuesday and then even going through work and the office and everything yesterday, Wednesday, it's just is surreal. But, there's a couple times when I was thinking about it and yesterday this happened. I wasn't struggling. I wasn't having a rough day. It was a good day yesterday. Got a lot done. We started our midweek connect last night and got things going with that. But I remember about halfway through the day yesterday, just received a text from one of our folks in church, and the text just read, "Hey, met somebody who's met you, and they said that you were a blessing. Wanted to let you know that you're having an impact on people." And you know what? I wasn't fishing for a compliment or anything like that, but that text came at a really good time for me. Here I am bummed that I left Lena and Dennis at college, and just looking at our phase of life and looking at just a lot of the different life stages and stage that our church is at, and wanting things to move forward with our building and all these types of stuff. And yet God brings encouragement through just a simple text. And I guess today, I know I'm kind of all over the place on this, but as I look at this, I love how Luke writes like, hey, this was something that God used to encourage Paul. And so I want to challenge you, open your eyes and look around and realize that God brings encouragement in a lot of ways. And so there might be somebody in your life that God has used to encourage you. Don't just move on past that. Step back and thank the Lord. That's what Paul did. He thanked God and he took courage. Man, God, thank you for sending them at the exact time I needed it. And I'm encouraged by that. And so just want to challenge you today, as you go through the day, look for people who God would send your way to encourage you. And then let's remember, other people need us to be the encouragement to them. So just a quick challenge on that today. I hope it'd be a help to you. And tomorrow we wrap up the series in Acts 28, and looking forward to our time together. We'll look at Paul's discussion with these Hebrews, and then really what God did in his life as he was there in jail for a couple of years. So, all right, look forward to seeing you tomorrow. Have a great day.